We've got a number of questions that have been coming in through the queue, and we want to have a chance to have conversation with you about those that have come out, get some questions answered from everyone that's out there that are raising awareness about what's really taking place in this campaign and what's really happening each and every day with the messaging that's out there. A number of you have wondered who I am, where I'm from, what's actually taking place. You know, even someone's asked, have I even worked on the floor before? So I'll give you a brief story about myself. I'm Ray Curry. Was elected, as you know, on July 1 to become the international president following the retirement of President Roy Gamble. Before that, I was hired in 1992 at the Freightliner truck plant, which is now Daimler Trucks, at Local 5285 in Mount Holly, North Carolina. As a truck assembler, I worked there a number of years and served in a number of different roles for the local union. Served as the secretary treasurer, served as an alternate committee person, served as a convention delegate on a number of standing committees, active in the community, was on the state FL executive committee, representing the UAW, was a member organizer, worked on a number of major campaigns that were out there, and including most successfully campaigns that launched the Gastonia and Gastonia, Cleveland, and High Point Freightliner campaigns, Thomas Built Bus, Local 5287, 3520 Cleveland Freightliner plant, and then 5286 Freightliner plant. All those were pieces that built my career and activities that I was actively involved in, and building power with the membership, not doing this alone, collectively in the voice of workers who wanted to have a true voice inside their workplace. All of that led to a number of different things over time. Ultimately, I was appointed to the International in 2004 as an international servicing rep originally, and then later on became 6 years later, after servicing in the states of Tennessee and Alabama, became an assistant director of a 12-state region, very diverse region, second highest population of retirees in the country outside of Michigan, and representing almost every sector that our membership covers. Later on became the director of that region, and then subsequently in 2018 was elected as Secretary Treasurer, and then upon Roy Gamble's retirement became International President. And it's just, clarify some things that a lot of people have had some concern, and a number of things that are there. I'm probably the most vetted individual that ran during this entire election process. There's a number of people who have asked the question, are you corrupt? And I'll answer that question. I've not been part of any part of the corruption. Despite what others may say. I've not had any ethics violations. I've been vetted by a number of federal authorities, our UAW Executive Board. I was vetted by an ethics officer, vetted by the Department of Justice, vetted by the Federal Monitor, and I am not guilty of anything, and I'm not part of any part of the corruption. If anything, I've led a lot of the initiatives and the reforms that have moved us forward with regard to the process of moving us and the future for our UAW. What we always knew our UAW was about, what we knew our UAW stood for, and we want to make sure that everyone understands how that process is there. I'm going to start off answering a few questions that have come in. Some have come in through email, some have come in through the chat, and we're going to answer as many of those questions to make sure that everybody understands it. The first question actually was from Todd from Local 12. He says, your opposition likes to accuse you of corruption because you were there. What have you done to fight corruption on the International Executive Board? Well, Todd, and to the membership of the UAW, our retirees and our actives, who I am very thankful have joined us here tonight. You know what? I've stood on behalf of this International Executive Board and our membership to fight corruption. When the corruption was recognized and we became fully aware of what was taking place, and the federal government was moving forward with their charges in their case, was the one who led the initial initiatives that did the reform efforts. That included bringing in subject matter experts to do top to bottom reviews of our organization to make sure sure that we had practices that were corrected, led to reforms and policies that needed to be adjusted to make sure that this never happened again. That was a key piece about leading those reform efforts. I didn't do that alone. I did that with the entire International Executive Board because we were committed to make sure that the International Union that we knew, that we took an oath for and joined this office, we would be successful moving forward. There were 15 individuals who had been convicted. We removed their membership from the UAW, that they would not be part of the UAW as we moved forward. They would also not be able to impact our reforms and our efforts. We wanted to make sure that those barred individuals were not going to be back and that this International Executive Board would move procedures forward. Those procedures including an ethics officer. They included an ethics advisory committee. They included, for the very first time, compliance officer for the UAW. They've also included us bringing in a new human resources officer. They included us reshuffling the deck and establishing for the very first time a baseline of review inside of our accounting department that included new administrative accountants. I'm very proud and happy of our chief accountant and the work that she does each and every day, that she did under my direction as Secretary Treasurer, and that she continues today under new Secretary Treasurer Mott. We are very appreciative of the work she does. We're appreciative of the work of the layer of administrative accountants to make sure every item, every expenditure has another set of eyes to be reviewed. We also led another major task inside the organization, which was removing a 40-year external auditor and replacing him with a new external auditor. For the very first time, we established an independent internal auditor. We want to make sure that everything that moves inside of our organization that's responsible for dues dollars ultimately in the end. This is what we function off of, and this is where we've got to make sure that we protect those dues dollars each and every day, and it's important of what we do. We have another question right now from Eddie out of Region 1. I'm glad there are new people on the board, but I'm worried about their lack of experience, and we haven't seen what they can do. If you win, will you work with UAWD people who won and help them to learn what they need to know? This is Eddie out of Region 1. Eddie, and to our UAW membership, on December the 12th, we swore in the newly elected officers. All of us collectively, and I don't consider them outsiders as UAWD as much as I consider all of us as being UAW, United Auto Workers members, and we collectively will stand on behalf of the organization to fight for the working men and women at each and every location that we represent across the country, and we will make sure that we're going to represent our retirees. It's going to be a key piece that we're working together. So on December the 12th, when they were sworn in, we began the process of working together. I will work with every one of those officers. I'll work with every one of the regional directors. We are collectively a team. Now, there's others out there that may be disappointed in that process and may be disappointed that they're not part of that piece that's moving forward for our organization. We collectively will stand together. We're collectively right now doing the work together for the membership, and that's a key piece. So Eddie, to answer your question, we're working together since December the 12th. We're going to continue working together on behalf of the membership. John, a retiree. Your opponent has said that the UAW Retiring Medical Benefits Trust members are merely an advisory and play no role in determining benefits. This is factually incorrect. My question is, should someone running for UAW International President know what these important programs do and want that job when they want that job? And John, the retiree, you're absolutely correct. We have not just one VEBA that's representing auto workers. We have 7 total VEBAs that our retirees are covered under. And in each and every one of those, UAW members and board members in different locations serve as the UAW employee representatives on those boards. It's a key piece that we're there. We're not there just as an advisory role. We're there with all other independent members who are selected to serve on that board as well. We make decisions. We discuss plan decisions. We discuss benefit levels. We discuss cost sharing. We discuss all those things that impact each and every one of those retirees. And we're not just there in an advisory role. We are there fiduciary responsible for our retirees to make the right decision. We carry fiduciary liability insurance, and we are ultimately responsible for making decisions in those roles on behalf of our retirees. I'm proud to serve on the current board of the Retiree Medical Benefit Trust for our retirees, along with my friend, Vice President Chuck Browning, Vice President Booth, Vice President Boyer, retired UAW Vice President Gerald Banham, who's there in the retiree capacity role. We are the representatives on the Retiree Medical Benefit Trust for the autos, but we have a number of other VEBAs, including Daimler Trucks VEBA, Mack Trucks VEBA, the Bud Company, and others. They're a piece that we've got to remember. St. Joe's, Dana, just to name a few. But we are there as representatives to stand on behalf of our retirees. We have another question that just came in. I want to make sure that the best team at the table when it comes to bargaining. Sean says bargaining is bargaining. If bargaining was so simple, why do we not have all our concessions back? This comes from Lou in Region 8. Lou, that's a tough question, and bargaining is not just bargaining. Bargaining, you've got to understand that we represent a number of different sectors of our membership across the country. Each one of those sectors are unique in what's taken place with them historically for many years, and what they actually build, what they manufacture, the service that they provide, or what they're actually doing each and every day. You have to understand that history that's actually taken place in those sectors. You don't walk to the table and begin to bargain the first time with employees without a background. Key pieces that you're seeing about the concessions, there are a number of concessions that have happened over years. They've happened during tough times. They've happened during the pandemic. They've happened during recessionary years. And those are key pieces that in profitable times, we seek to return those back to the membership. And we'll be fighting for the membership. And when I say fighting for the membership, that's standing for the membership each and every day, not punching someone, not wanting to threaten to punch any member of our International Executive Board, not wanting to threaten to punch any member of management. Standing and fighting is when you take on the task of real bargaining on behalf of our membership. And that's what we intend to do. We intend to go after those things. We intend to increase pay. We intend to seek COLA being returned to our membership. We intend to look at the issues of pensions. We want to make sure that we address those. And when we talk about tiers, we don't want to just talk about the tiers of wage. There's other tiers that separate each and every one of us inside of different facilities. Now, every location doesn't face that, but a number of our locations do. And we want to make sure that those locations where members are working beside someone doing the exact same work each and every day, we'd like for them to be brought up to a level of benefits. And that's a key piece that's important for each and every one of us to do. We've got a question now from Jenny in Region 1D. Being UAW president seems like a huge responsibility. What made you want to take on this job? What do you like about representing 1 million UAW members? Jenny from Region 1D, I'm excited about serving in this role of UAW president. When I got elected in 2018 as a Secretary Treasurer to come to Detroit, the whole goal then was serving in a financial capacity and also bargaining on behalf of our membership. When Roy Gamble retired in 2021 and I became the international president, I sought it for one reason: to be able to represent our membership and give a voice to our membership across the country, whether that was in legislative halls in the state or whether that was in legislative halls of Congress, to make sure our voice was heard. That's been a key piece for me. I want to fight and make sure that there's a voice out there for the folks who are voiceless. I want to be able to take the tough stance. UAW's got a long historic history of representing members, standing up in toughest of times for our membership and those in the community. That's what I enjoy about it. I enjoy being able to have the good conversations with our retirees. 1.1 million active and retired that are out there, but we've got some of the best retirees. Two great retirees that I know actually come from my home region. Ray Davis, who is originally from Region 1C that now lives in Region 8, and Lawrence Hamilton. Two great retirees that I get a chance to spend a lot of time with and have good conversation as they represent our retirees at international area councils. The other group that I get to represent the most is our active members, and understand there's tough times out there for our active members in a number of locations. The toughest times recently existed when we faced the pandemic, and the protections and the covenants that we wanted to make sure that when our members returned back to their job sites, they were protected each and every day inside of the workplace. So again, Jenny, it's exciting serving the 1.1 million members of the UAW. I enjoy being able to do that each and every day. There are long days. This is not an entry-level position, and it's a position because of the work that was done on the ground floor when I was originally in the plant working, and as I moved through a number of other positions, appointed and elected, I've been able to serve, and I've been able to gain additional experiences that make me ready, make me qualified, and make me ready to stand on behalf of this 1.1 membership each and every day. Next person that emailed without a name. I didn't vote for you last fall, and I've not cast my ballot yet because I hear a lot of promises, but not a lot of plans. My question is, what do you say to members about your commitments to terms like COLA and retirement? Again, this came in from a member with no name. To that member and to all our membership, there's a lot of people who can talk a lot and put a lot of rhetoric out there. It's all about the action. It's about delivery at the end of the day. And that's going to be the goal of what we're committed to. We'll listen to the membership on the current resolutions that are coming up. For those of you who are not aware, we have a special collective bargaining convention that happens the week of March 26th. What's important about that convention is we're going to make sure that we hear all of our membership's resolutions and plans. There's a piece there that's important, that it's not just about the autos, it's not just about truck, it's not just about Ag Imp. That's a piece where we hear all of the membership demands, and we address all of those resolutions and the upcoming bargaining that will take place over the next 4 years. It's a key piece for all of us to remember, and those are goals to make sure that we're fighting for every one of our membership and every one of the sectors across the country. We've got a question now for Rich via the Facebook Messenger. Rich says, what are the advantages of choosing you over your opponent? A lot of candidates talk about bargaining as if it's as simple as pounding the table and making demands. What does it take to win demands at the table? How do you stop plants from closing and stop outsourcing of our jobs? And again, this is Rich from Facebook. Rich, key piece is pounding on the table doesn't deliver a whole lot of action. You've got to have experience, and you've got to have been in there in those late hours of bargaining to be able to accomplish this. This experience of bargaining in multiple sectors is key to make sure that we have the best representatives there. It's to make sure that we're representing our membership, and it's also to make sure we're able to move an agenda across that table and the membership's demands are met. And when those demands are not met, we'll take the necessary next steps. But you can't sit there and pound it. It's not an entry-level position that you walk into and you think just because you believe, you say we should go to war, that all of a sudden there's going to be followers. People follow leaders. People don't follow anyone who's the loudest person in the crowd. They follow leaders because they believe that the leader's experience and the leader's proven time and time again that they can deliver. I am that experienced individual, and that's why I'm currently serving as your international president and have served a number of other roles for the International Union. The key piece is making sure that our membership is well informed. We want to make sure our membership is updated during the bargaining process, and we'll make sure that we can deliver in the end and meet the demands of the membership. I'm not interested in shoveling anything down anyone's throat. We need to be well informed. We want to have our membership educated on the package that's on the table because it affects them in the years ahead. That's what's important most. And Rich, we thank you for your question. Mike from Local 3000. Sean Fain said UAW should go to war when companies announce joint ventures. What do you say to our members who come out of, for example, Auto Alliance, which is a joint venture organized with UAW? Sean seems confused about the difference between joint ventures and spinoff and what our agreements say. I think my opponent is confused on that. And my opponent has made a number of different statements with regard to what happens with joint ventures. Go to war? We've got joint ventures that have proven for us in Local 3000 and others that have proven that our membership is well represented. And unfortunately, my opponent doesn't understand that language. Most recently, in a joint venture that was announced, we've organized a battery facility with regard to Ultium LLC. And we're in the bargaining process right now for the first collective bargaining agreement. The one thing that my opponent can't say, while he talked a lot about Ultium, he never sat down with the membership that voted to be represented by the UAW. He never sat down with the elected bargaining committee to understand what their demands are. And when you talk about joint ventures, you've got to understand our members have been successful through joint ventures, and a lot of times. Most recently, right now, our membership at Local 1853 in Springfield, Tennessee, not only are they building some great General Motors products inside of that facility, they're also going to be building a joint venture with Honda. Now, my opponent, what happens with our friends that are at Local 1853, that membership? Does that membership not need the additional volume that comes from that joint venture? Absolutely they do. Do they not need to be able to build the quality products that they've built for years? Absolutely. Does it send a message to the rest of the world that UAW members can build some of the greatest vehicles? Absolutely, and that's what's taking place. So I think he needs to get a better understanding of what joint ventures are actually about. And clearly, we stand with our membership when those things happen, and we're ready to talk to employers. And when there's not language in our collective bargaining agreements, we're ready to address that bargaining at the right forum, at the right table, to make sure that we have all those provisions covered in our collective bargaining agreements. So thank you again, Mike from 3000. We've got a retiree from Region 8 that's not providing his name. Retirees are an important part of the UAW, and I know from all of your actions that you feel the same. Yet others keep saying that you don't care about retirees. Can you clarify once and for all on your position of retirees voting this election? Let's be very clear about this from the very beginning. From the very beginning of the consent decree and the initial election that took place with regard to the direct elections referendum vote, we were supportive of retirees voting that process. Retirees played an active role in the region that I come from where this international union was founded 87 years ago. They're key to our own survival. And every part of a collective bargaining agreement that exists because the fight of retirees. They built those agreements from the first agreement that was one page with a covered representation to where we are still today in the multiple agreements, multiple provisions, multiple exhibits, multiple appendices, and all that encompass our agreements. So our retirees are a key part of that. So I stood with our retirees voting the referendum. I stood with our retirees voting in this election process. Let's make it very clear. I never stopped our retirees from voting. I never blocked our retirees. But for some reason, with outside funds, the opposition mailed a flyer most recently and stressed that point again, just like they stressed the point about the corruption. Again, another falsehood to get things confused of our retirees and our other active members. But the one piece that they fail to realize, our members are very smart. Our retirees are very smart and very intelligent. They will ask questions and they will fact check things. And this thing has been fact checked, and clearly I stand always with our UAW retirees. This comes from Paul of Local 6000. Fain is saying he ran because the administration caucus is too powerful, but he now says he wants the majority on the board for power and control. What is the administration caucus? Isn't he just trying to replace one political party with another? Again, Paul from Local 6000. The administration caucus was founded and known as the Reuther Caucus during Walter Reuther's era. That caucus has served us well for making sure that we've had a true voice in advocacy, a true voice in demographics, a true voice in representation on every one of our convention cycles, bargaining and constitutional. It's a key piece is there. Strange piece is that in April of 2022, Shawn Fain attended, like he always had, the Administrative Caucus meeting. Shawn Fain was the 5th person to sign in the meeting. To become the number 5 person to sign in at the Administration Caucus meeting means you're there very early. Shawn wanted to make sure that he had a front row seat to what was taking place. So Shawn and others have attended Administration Caucus meetings. Only after that meeting did Shawn announce that he would be a candidate for a new party that was being formed. And at that time, he became that candidate. But Shawn, you can't back away from all those Administration Caucus meetings that you attended, all those morning meetings that you were there during the Constitutional Convention, all the meetings that you were there during the bargaining convention. You decided at the point in time that you'd make a decision to go to another caucus. And it's the same factor that you say all along. You say that the Administration Caucus has too much power, but even most recently on a Facebook Live, you acknowledged that your key goal was to make sure that you and Daniel Vicente were elected to have control of the International Executive Board. And that's very disappointing when you challenge the Administration Caucus, again, a caucus that you belong to, Shawn. Something that we'll never forget, that you participated in those meetings for so many years. We have another question from someone from local 5960 with no name. I'm out of General Motors. 5 of the 13 people on the IAB are out of Stellantis. Fain would make it 6, which would be almost half of the board would be out of Stellantis. Why is it important to have different backgrounds on the IAB, or does it matter at all? Absolutely no name out of local 5960. The key piece is we need to have different voices from every sector of our membership. Voices matter, experience matters. When we're locked into one sector, the experience that's there has not enjoyed the chance of working with our members from other sectors, and it becomes a disappointing piece. They're not able to have real discussion about it. They're not able to understand what the bargaining ramifications are in each and every one of those sectors. So to understand what's key and what's important, it is important to make sure that we've got different members, different sectors. Our 3 candidates, they're still on the Curry Solidarity team that ballots are out for you to consider right now, are myself, Ray Curry, and I'm out of the heavy truck division, Chuck Browning, who comes out of Ford, not out of Stellantis, and Lauren Farrell comes out of our public sector. Key pieces that are important for our membership's voices to be heard on the International Executive Board. So no name out of 5960. It is important, and it does matter about having different voices, different representation on the International Executive Board. Your challenger says being UAW International President is not an entry-level job. What experience do you have that qualifies you for the job of International President? And this comes from Diane via the Facebook Messenger. Diane and our UAW membership, what's key and what's important to all of us is the fact of making sure that you have experience. Experience does matter. As I mentioned to you, I started off on the shop floor in my local union, Local 5285 in Mount Holly, North Carolina. And I had the experience and the fortunate piece of being appointed by International President, now President Emeritus, Ron Gelfinger in 2004 to international staff. I serviced in Region 8, serviced in a number of different sectors, and those sectors are key. In those sectors and experience and bargaining, you gain working with different memberships, working with different employers to fight on behalf of the membership demands each and every day. To also enforce the collective bargaining agreements that you most recently you were able to bargain. All of those are key because when you do that, you gain experience in each one of those sectors, and that's a key piece for our membership. You can't walk into the job of a bargaining, you can't walk into the job of an international president and be able to truly represent the membership each and every day. It's a piece that we all have to remember, and experience counts, experience matters, because when you're in that late hour bargaining, if you have no experience and you're counting on the bargainers who are with you, what kind of leader really are you? If you think about that at the end of the day, what leader really serves the membership well when the bargainers who are actually serving under him actually have more experience than he's actually able to bring to the room? That's an important piece that we have to remember. Regardless who's leading that challenge, we want a leader who's got experience. Our bargainer should be an enforced subject matter expert with that lead bargainer. But they shouldn't be the leads who are controlling the bargaining. They shouldn't be the ones who are the only ones that are in there, and then they're waiting for their leader to make a decision at the 9th hour. And because of his or her lack of experience, they're not able to make the ultimate decision that affects our membership. I have another question right now by David via Facebook. Do you serve on the Daimler Board of Directors, and is that a conflict of interest? I do not serve on Daimler's Board of Directors, but I do serve on Daimler Truck's Supervisory Board. On that Supervisory Board, which is established under German Code of Conduct, there are 10 stakeholder representatives, shareholder representatives, and 10 employee representatives. I am one of 10 employee representatives. By serving on that board, the other 9 employee representatives are out of Europe and other countries, and they represent the members who work under the Daimler Truck structure. And as a result of that, we have a voice in what's actually taking place with regard to the corporation. Am I not serving on there? UAW members who work for Daimler Truck would not have a voice on there, and others in Europe and other locations would actually be making decisions on our behalf. They would have the ultimate decision making about what's taking place with regard to our plants, our product investment, what does the portfolio look like in the future. All those are key pieces. And another part of that question was, are you compensated? I am actually not compensated by serving on that board. The supervisory board's employee representatives' salaries, or as they call them, remunerations, are donated to the Hans Brockler Foundation, which is very similar to what takes place here in the U.S. as the AFL-CIO. Those salaries are received by that, and they support labor unions across the country. And that's a key piece about what takes place with regard to Europe. So it is not a conflict of interest. Serving on that board, I am an employee representative representing those out of the 6 plants for Daimler Trucks North America, and I do not receive a salary from serving on that board, or as they are known as remuneration. This comes from a Ford Rossonville member. Ford employees at 2-tier plants are looking for a president that will see these members are no longer taken advantage of by the company. The top out wages are wages less than what's paid at Walmart per hour. 401k that keeps losing money, and have to stay at a 2-tier plant for 4 years before being able to bid out to a traditional plant. The work is just as cumbersome as in the traditional plant, but pays much less. What is your plan to get rid of the 2-tier language, bring them up to equal pay, and offset the cost of living in the economy? They are looking for equal pay and cost of living for starters. As I mentioned before, those are things that are clearly part of tiered structures and structures that we want to make sure are eliminated as we move forward. There are goals that we want to make sure that we accomplish in the bargaining process where equal work is being done and equal compensation and equal benefits are being provided for all members inside of a workplace. Again, a Ford Rossonville member. Debbie, with no local union number, says, I pay dues into our union, and I know that those dues support things like the UC strike, where many thousands were striking for a first contract and not yet paying dues into our union. I recently saw something that said our union has turned its back on higher education members. How do we stop the spread of this kind of misinformation, as it really does hurt our union, especially as we try to organize new members? Debbie from no local union number, I would tell you that we have definitely stepped up for our higher education members. Over the last 4 years, we have provided more resources for our higher education sector than this organization and UAW has in its history since the beginning of organizing higher eds. Our goal is to make sure that our higher eds have the resources, and as they want to grow, we want to make sure that we step up in a big way to make sure that we've got resources in bargaining, resources if they have to strike for recognition, which 17,000 did at the University of California, in addition to the 31,000 who were striking for a renewal contract. Those are key pieces, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, higher ed, we're stepping up for all of you. And for the very first time, I'm proud to say we have a higher ed organizing campaign that's taking place in the state of Alaska. For the very first time, the UAW could be representing members in the state of Alaska, and we're proud to say that they're higher ed members, and we are proud to be representing them as we move forward with their campaign. Key pieces to make sure that everyone understands we represent everyone, and when we're representing you, we're going to provide all the resources necessary to grow and expand your sectors of your membership. Submitted by Facebook, no name. I think a question of Freightliner. How can we explain to the membership the fact that now our best customers in the government, state, county, and city municipalities get trucks made in Mexico? Before Ray Curry became president, that could not happen. Well, the unsubmitted name that provided that through Facebook Messenger, I'm not sitting in state houses. I am actually advocating the state houses and opposing things that are being built in Mexico. I did not provide trade things that took place with regard to NAFTA or the USMC that's in place right now. We've advocated about that, and we want to make sure products that are built here in the U.S. are bought by our U.S. customers, and make sure state, local, municipalities, and others are supporting the American worker. Before this took place, and according to this question, this didn't happen before. Well, for 30 plus years, there's been product that's been built in Mexico, and we're still fighting the effects of what took place with regard to NAFTA. I'm not responsible for that, but I am the advocate for UAW members each and every day to make sure that jobs are here, products are created here in the U.S., and that we build and continue to build those products in each and every one of our sectors. Next question. What are your plans, and this comes from Mark, unknown local, what are your plans to fight for the membership, and what can all UAW members do today to help our bargainers? The one piece that I plan on doing is continuing to fight with each and every day, and to be supportive of our regional directors, of our UAW international staff, whether that staff is at Solidarity House or whether that staff is out in the region. We want to make sure that our staff has the best resources, best tools to support our membership across the country. That's our retired membership and our active membership. We provide so many services for each and every one of them each and every day, and it's important that we continue to do that. I want our membership to also be able to step up and stand. The leaders that are elected inside of your facilities, they were elected by you. They took an oath, and they have tough jobs and tough challenges that they have to meet each and every day. But know that they're standing for you. We need to make sure that each and every one of us know that we've got your back and that you have ours. It's a key piece as we move into the bargaining. Employers should not know that our membership is divided. Employers should not see negative things play out inside of our workplace between UAW elected officials. And another key piece is that when you're wearing this, we'll be proud of wearing the UAW will, whether you're in public or you're in the workplace. It says a lot about the history of this organization. So for our members, we need your support. We need you to step up. We need you to be prepared for the tough times. We need you to be prepared if there's a strike. We don't need dissension inside the workplace. We want to make sure that we're all standing collectively together. The word solidarity says it all. When we're in solidarity, when we're marching arm in arm, when we're standing together, we are doing the best thing on behalf of all the members, every sector, every possible one of us, to fight to make sure that our voice is heard inside of the workplace. But I'm asking each and every one of you, stand up, step together, and let's make sure that we're fighting the right fight. And that fight is against the employer. That fight is against those who oppose us, who are anti-worker employers. That's the fight that we're taking on. We're not taking on the fight between UAW members. We're taking on the fight between the employer and our bargaining locations that are out there with regard to our local unions. That's the key piece that we've got to step up for, and it's very important for each and every one of us. And as you can tell, it's kind of dry. We are still in the middle of winter, and I need to get a little bit of water because my throat's getting dry at this time. Key piece that we've got to be able to remember as we move forward is also making sure that we are advocating for all of our membership that's out there. Most recently, today, we've seen some things that play into what I know is historically not the membership. There was a post that was out on Facebook today that depicted me in a red, white, and blue bottom and a shirt, and it said Cabin Boy. It was referencing a cabin that had been purchased at Black Lake, which we fought over, as many of you know, and we also made sure was sold and membership's dues dollars were returned rightfully so. Cabin that was built in the wrong way that was ever approved by our membership at the Constitutional Convention. But that was out there, and it was a depiction of racism that was very disappointing, and I know that doesn't exist in the core of our membership. Another piece that's also played out at the same time is the fortunate piece, and I stand on behalf of this membership each and every day, regardless of race, regardless of religion, regardless if you're on the island of Puerto Rico, if you're in the continental United States, and as I mentioned to you, our members that are going to be in Alaska out of higher ed that are going to be coming here soon. I want to make sure I stand for all of the membership, but there's also this depiction that's played out in so many different ways about what happens based on the color of someone's skin. I've represented the membership at every level, and I will continue to represent each and every one of you every day. That's the piece that's important to us, and that's the piece that I'll continue to do while I'm a UAW member, while I'm your international president, each and every day as we move forward. Question from Michael in Region 1A. After this election is finished, what will you do to heal the wounds of the disconnect among our membership? Again, Michael from Region 1A. This is a question that was asked for me, not only by Michael, but has been asked of me as I've traveled around the country at different locations and talked with the membership. I truly believe that there is a healing factor that needs to take place following this election. And that is making sure that everyone's responsive, and also remembering one thing: we are one membership at the end of the day. We may have differences of opinion, we may have differences of thoughts around bargaining, we may have differences of what we believe the organization should be. We may have differences where others have tried to attach additional letters past the word UAW. But at the end of the day, the one thing that's key that we all have to remember: we're UAW members. 3 letters, as we were when we were originally founded in 1935. The charter hasn't changed. There's not been an extension of it. There's not been an extension of letters and other divisive pieces or other tool markings and others to reflect anything different. But we are collectively UAW members. We will always be UAW members. Our collective bargaining agreements state that we're UAW members. The representation clauses inside of our contracts acknowledge that we are the United Auto Workers International Union Agricultural and Implement Workers of America. It's a key piece that we've got to remember. We got to take the division out of this. We've got to get back to the core of what we stand for. And at the end of the day, in 2013, there's not going to, when you look at what happened then and when you look at where we are in 2023 with national bargaining, we will be standing there with an employer, and that employer is going to remember that they're bargaining with the UAW. They're not going to remember any of those other groups or any other names that are out there. They know who they're facing across the table, experience leadership from the UAW at the end of the day. And that's a piece that we've all got to remember. So the healing process begins at the conclusion of this election, but the conversation about that has already begun, and that began when we had a number of discussions with members across the country each and every day. I'm not afraid of the tough conversation. I'm not afraid of being approached. I'm not afraid of the questions, and that's exactly why I'm here with you. I am the same guy that was on the shop floor now when you look at it almost 30 years ago. Positions have changed. I've changed. I don't have hair now. So that's something that changed from many years ago. But I am the same approachable member, same approachable elected official on behalf of our membership, and I look forward to continue talking to our retirees and talking to our actives all across the country. This one says, please speak to Lauren Farrell. Experience and importance of being elected. This comes from Tim and Local 644 in Region 9. So according to what Tim's saying, experience does matter. Lauren Farrell brings a lot to our table and brings a lot to our team. Lauren has served this international union in bargaining roles. She's served in CAP roles. She's served in organizing roles in a number of different sectors of our membership. I am proud of Sister Lauren Farrell, the current Assistant Director in Region 9 and a candidate for Director of Region 9. We're supportive of where Lauren is moving. Lauren has done a lot of great work in Region 9, following other great directors that have been there with regard to Director Terry Dittis, who was there in Region 9, Director Jeff Benz, and Lauren Farrell will be another great director for Region 9, and we're excited knowing that Lauren will be victorious in the upcoming runoff election. Next question, unknown but came through Facebook Messenger. Why did it take you so long to do a Facebook Live? You are great. The reason that it took so long is I am the international president. I do have full-time duties for the International Union. That is representing our actives and retired. I have bargaining assignments with regard to heavy truck that fall under the president's office, also aerospace and defense. Those are key pieces that I have to make sure. I'm also the chairman of our International Executive Board. So on a day-to-day basis, I have a number of commitments, and I actually don't get the luxury of being able to sit behind a keyboard for 30 minutes or an hour to give false hope to our membership. All that's key to what I'm doing each and every day. And when I am able to take time, like this evening, I want to make sure that I take the necessary time, answer the questions for our membership that I'm so proud to represent each and every day. It's a true honor to be here with you, and I want to make sure that I get those chances to see you. So whether I'm on the gates or I'm here now with the Facebook Live, it's important that I hear your questions and I get a chance to be able to respond to you. But I want to respond to you with facts. I don't want to give you falsehoods. I don't want to have false expectations out there, and I don't want you chasing ghosts. Those ghosts that you would chase with those claims and promises being made that you'd find out that they would not be delivered to you after negotiations. I want to make sure that you understand why I am a candidate for re-election for president after having served currently right now a year and a half as your international president. I want to make sure that you understand what those true facts are. I want you to be able to understand that you're not looking at someone that the federal government is chasing. Because again, I've been vetted by multiple federal agencies. I am not under investigation. I'm not guilty of an ethics violation, despite anything that comes out to you in a glossy, fancy print that was paid for by outside funds. And speaking of those outside funds, we've asked now for several weeks, and still Shawn Fain, his campaign, UAWD, Workers United, have not provided any type of explanation for outside funds. We've asked a question, why does anyone in Maine that's a non-UAW member need to contribute to an election of UAW International Executive Board members? Why does someone from California who's not a UAW member need to contribute? Why does someone all of a sudden make a contribution and say that they are the friends of Shawn Fain that are making a contribution? All of these dollars and amounts that are coming in, some that are $500, some that are $1,000, some that are $1,500. What are they actually asking to buy, Shawn? What are they asking to get if you're elected? What are they asking to provide our membership? What do they want to take from us? Do they want to be consultants with you? That's a key piece that we've got to remember. So Shawn, I challenge you again. We publicly posted a request. We've sent a letter to you. and we've asked and you failed to respond. So I'm going to ask you again. Sean, will you release your financial reports and disclose those non-members and their contribution amount? Will you please do that for the 1.1 million members of the UAW? They deserve to understand why individuals are contributing in this election. And just remember, other international unions that are holding elections and through this process, no one can contribute that are not members of their election. Non-members can't contribute. Now, the rules allow that to take place. But Sean, we're asking you, be honest with us at this point. Why don't you disclose that campaign finance report and let everyone really see who's contributing to the Shawn Fain campaign, who's contributing to UAWD, and who's actually trying to influence the UAW at this time all across the country. Next question. Someone's asking, Blue Cross Blue Shield member and BCM members sacrifice a lot during the pandemic. What can we do to make sure all our members are treated the same during the pandemic? And this comes from Maya. Maya, the one piece that's real clear is that no one saw what took place in 2020 that was actually going to happen. A key piece around that, there's not language that was in most agreements with regard to global pandemics. One thing that we want to make sure is we want to have protective covenants in the upcoming rounds of bargaining to protect our memberships in every location. That's something that we want to do because we don't know where this next pandemic would come from. Could it be airborne? Could it be something that travels again, just like what we've dealt with COVID as a virus? We want to make sure our members are protected in each and every space. And the one key piece for me, being the son of a nurse, and my mother was a registered nurse, she's no longer with me now, I have always sought to protect the environments of our public health space. That includes our nurses who are out there doing the tough work each and every day, that were forced to work during the pandemic and definitely considered essential each and every day. I consider that crucial, and I consider that very important that we look out for our public health members that are out there. Again, it's understanding we represent multiple sectors. We just don't come out of auto. We've got to make sure every sector of our membership is protected in this process. Got a question from local 974, from Ross at 974. Is International prepared to fight prepared for the fight that CAT appears to be bringing this go-around? We need you and Chuck leading us as we go through these negotiations. It seems like they're pulling out all the stops on this go-around. Again, Ross from 974. Ross, please understand, we plan on standing with your local and all the members of the CAT sector to make sure that your voice is heard during this process. Vice President Browning is there with you during the current national bargaining, along with his department staff, and along with your elected bargainers out of AgImp CAT. Clearly understand that we stand with you. We are committed to be with you one day longer to make sure that everything that's presented across that table gets addressed and that your membership demands are heard. It's very important for that process. We've stood with other AgImp workers with regard to John Deere. We stood with the case workers. We are standing with the Caterpillar workers every day. And if CAT brings the fight, we're going to bring the fight back to CAT. And that's a commitment that I want to make to you and each and every one of our members in the Caterpillar system. Each and every day, we're standing with you, and I'm there standing with Vice President Browning to make sure we deliver the best agreement possible for our membership. The next question that we've got is, do you plan on doing anything to address the interests of skilled trades? Absolutely. While I'm not a skilled trades member, we have fought each and every day to make sure that apprentices are moved. That's part of a collective bargaining agreement. We want to make sure that we are not having erosion take place that's actually happening with our skilled trades. Previously, President Obama convened a town hall nationally when he was in office because of the loss of skilled trades that were taking place. Skilled trades average age at the time was 62, which was being affected, and we were seeing a number of locations, our independent part supplier locations, our auto companies, our defense companies and our heavy truck, we're all faced with losing skilled trades. We want to be advocates and make sure that there's improved language on trades. We want to enforce when we say that we've got 300 committed trades. We want the 300 committed trades during the life of the agreement. We don't want to come up to a time that we're 6 months out and we're trying to figure out how we're going to bring on 250 more apprentices at that time. We also want to make sure that we've got wages that are market rate wages, prevailing rate wages, to meet the demand for our skilled trades. We don't want to see our skilled trades leaving our represented locations to go to other locations that aren't represented by the UAW. We want them to be comfortable inside of our workspace to make sure that their voice is heard, make sure that their issues are brought forth. We want to make sure that they're protected for the future. We want to make sure that their voices are heard with regard to new technology, with regard to electric vehicles. We want to make sure that they are the first ones when new technology is introduced on the floor. We don't want the technology being brought to us by way of engineers or by management and then find out that there's an agreement for service contracts and others of the like over the next 3 to 4 years that an outside vendor is actually going to service the equipment that's being installed in our plant. Those are our plants, those are our jobs, and we want our skilled trades doing the work inside of the plants each and every day. We don't need an outside vendor to show up on the lot. We don't need an outside vendor to come and check something just because he's got a service contract. We have more than enough skill and technology that our members can do the work, and they've done the work for years, and it's been shown. And we've got that commitment as we move forward. An additional question is, Local 600 retiree Steve, you took a pledge to only accept campaign donations from the UAW members. Your opponent has refused to do that. Not only that, but also refused to tell his members who his outside donors are. What is important to tell the members which outside groups or people are funding your campaign? The monitor, and clearly we know the monitor set the rules, but this is a question from Steve at Local 600. Clearly, we've asked that, and I'll ask again, and this question goes to Shawn Fain and Shawn Fain's campaign and the likes attached to Shawn Fain's campaign with UAWD and Members United. We're asking you, and Steve from Local 600, a retiree, just ask again. Shawn Fain, please come clean. Stop the corruption. It's time to come clean and acknowledge where your contributions are coming from. It's also time to make sure that the membership understands who will be influencing them in the future. If you're elected, what consultant's going to be sitting in the office? If you're elected, where's this individual that's coming from California or Maine to cash in on the $2,000 that they gave you as a campaign contribution on your most recent report? That's a piece that's key, and Shawn, our membership deserves to understand that. That's very important each and every day. We've got one other question that came in about EVs. Big Three members are concerned about transition to EVs. Or your opponent says you have no plan. What have you done already, and what do you plan to do in the future to ensure Big Three members are protected with regard to EVs? The one piece that I would say, and this is where experience does matter. I've been actively engaged in state legislation across the country in a number of different states with regard to EV technology and the evolution that's taking place with regard to the future industry of the auto companies. The key piece, I've been actively also engaged in national pieces regarding infrastructure to make sure that the right infrastructure is in place for charging stations, new technology investments, and making sure that when all of these announcements that have taken place so far that have brought products to a number of our locations, whether it was Jefferson North Assembly with a plug-in hybrid on a Grand Cherokee, whether it was the Jeep Wrangler down at Local 12 at Toledo that have been building the great Jeep product for so many years, or whether it was Spring Hill, Tennessee, that's building the Cadillac Lyriq and also going to be building a new electric vehicle on behalf of Honda, or whether it was Factory Zero and Lake Orion and also Pontiac, where we're going to have new EV vehicles being built. Each and every one of the announcements that have been out there, We've made sure that those were job commitments. Each and every one of those employers have said they want to bring everyone along. Our key piece is making sure that everyone has been brought along and that every one of these announcements, there's additional job numbers that have grown up. The other piece that we've got to remember, Local 600. How could we forget the F-150 Lightning? So important to each and every one of about the investment that's come there. New job creation has come from this. My commitment and my plan has been to make sure I'm at the table. I'm at the table discussing these issues with each and every one of those employers. I'm at the table with the legislation that was being discussed. I was there with Secretary Granholm discussing things around energy and what that means with electric vehicles. I was there to have some tough discussions with our members of the Michigan delegation, other congressional delegations, and Senate delegations across the country. I was there to have those conversations, even with our president, to help him understand what the impact is in this transformation and that we need jobs here in America, we need the resources here in America, and we need to make sure that these are all good paying union jobs. And when they're auto jobs, when they're component jobs, when they're sectorial jobs attached to this transformation, that they're represented by the United Auto Workers. A key piece that we all have to remember at the end of the day. Now, an important piece out of all this, and there's a number of questions that are still showing up that are in the chat, and we're going to keep trying to get to those, but a key piece that we all have to remember, we're going to fight for every sector. There's sectors that will go through transformations currently with electric vehicles. That includes auto, that includes heavy truck, that includes our ag imp sector, that includes our defense. We want to also make sure that our members in gaming, our members in higher ed, our nurses, and as you just heard me say, I'm going to be a proud supporter of nurses always, each and every day in my life, because that nurse who meant so much to me. And it's very important that we make sure that we're representing each and every one of them. It's a key piece that we want to make sure that we're looking out for our independent parts supplier workers, that we're looking out for all the sectors of higher ed, that we're looking out for our state employees that are out there in a number of locations. All those are key. We want to make sure that we're looking out for some of the workers who are facing some of the toughest situations, and that's our members who are in the correctional facilities doing the work that they do each and every day. We've got tough jobs that are out there. We've got members who are doing record research out there each and every day. They're doing research on COVID. They're doing research on cancer. They are part of a process to develop the next healing power that may save another generation. That's why I'm proud of those postdoc students who do the heavy lifting each and every day for the long hours in the research labs that they're working in. I was proud to visit the ones most recently out at the University of California in LA when I was able to tour their labs. All of our membership is important. All our membership is key to what we do, but we've got to make sure that we're in the fight, and we're in the fight for the long haul. We're in the fight for our retirees, we're in the fight for our actives, and we're in the fight to open the door for another generation of active members that will be taking place. What they did so many years ago in 1937 will be reflected next Friday by my great friend Steve Dawes, the director of Region 1D, as they celebrate White Shirt Day. Let's not celebrate White Shirt Day and forget what those workers actually did and what they stood for. The fight continues. The fight will be still there, and we still got to take that fight to each and every one of the employers who don't want to meet our demands. Now, there's some of the people that were out there, including the opposition, that says something about partnerships. Partnerships still exist, and they are still great opportunities to work on issues with the right employers. Every employer is not a partner. There's every employer that comes to the table that's not looking for a collective bargaining agreement. They were adversarial during the last agreement. Why would we think anything would be different? So it's a key piece that we've got to remember. We know who to choose and work with in those relationships each and every day on behalf of the membership. I want to thank you. This one comment that just came in now from Alan from No Local. Thank you for standing up for IPS workers. Do not forget us. Alan, we're not going to forget you. We're not going to forget any of our sectors of our membership. We've got someone who just sent one in. UAW presidency is a vastly misunderstood job. It's not just bargaining at Big Three. Can you share aspects of the job that's continuously work week required to stay engaged with legislative representatives and the federal government where members work? So now the key piece for us, and we represent a number of different members from different sectors, Local 412, where we've got members who are in legislative roles and state roles, courts, and other systems and county municipalities. We've got representatives that are also, as I've mentioned, Local 6000, our members that are state employees. Those are key pieces that we want to make sure that we're in contact with. And in this job as president, each and every day, there's another challenge that's out there, and that's the challenge of representing our members. It is key to make sure to keep in contact with those representatives because we've got different sectors of our membership, and our membership is in different states all across the country and different cities. And we want to talk about those issues with each and every one of those representatives. You've got to make sure that that line of communication is open, that you can actually have the discussion for our membership. Most recently, we're having discussion with the state of Illinois. And I am proud of Director Brandon Campbell, the initiative that he's led there, and the initiative that he's working with the president's office and also with Vice President Rich Boyer's office to make sure that we're secure product for Belvidere. That's a key piece for each and every one of us. And when you talk about, as the member just asked, about those relationships are a key. So we're actively engaged with the governor's office in Illinois. We're actively engaged with the Secretary of Energy's office with Secretary Granholm. We're always actively engaged with the best president in the history of this country and has no problem saying the word union, and that's our president, Joe Biden. It's important to make sure that we keep those doors of communication open because we want to secure a product for the members at Belvidere. And that work didn't just start when a warn notice was issued. We've been fighting to secure a product for the members at Belvidere for months before that, and we want to secure that. 50 plus, when you look at now 57 plus years, a plant that was built in 1965, they deserve a product, that community deserves a product, and we're not going to stop fighting for Belvidere. It's a key piece that we've got to do. It's important for each and every one of us. So Brandon Campbell, director out there in Region 4, thanks for what you're doing. Thanks for keeping us on the radar of the governor's office, and we'll keep it here in Detroit to make sure that Secretary Granholm and the president and others were fighting to make sure that that product lands there, and we'll be excited about the new product, a new transformation that takes place for our members of that local. It's a key piece that we've got to remember. So, as we have discussed a number of things this evening, I just want to make sure that we close on the right note for our membership. I want you to remember that I'm fighting for you each and every day. I want you to remember I've faced some of those tough challenges like each and every one of you face. I want you to remember, like many of you, I'm a parent also. And most recently, became a grandfather. Like all of you, I've sacrificed a lot of tough time on behalf of our international union, whether that was on standing committees, whether that was serving in the local union elected roles, whether that was serving on the regional staff, whether that was serving as the elected regional director, elected secretary treasurer, and elected president of the UAW. I am the same image of our membership that's out there fighting each and every day. Like you, I've also been laid off before, faced those tough challenges. Not a short layoff, actually a layoff that lasted almost 3 years before we actually recalled. It's an important piece. I've worked the tough hours, I've worked the long shifts, I've worked second shift, I've worked third shift, I've worked day shift when my seniority allowed it or when I was actually bumped from another shift. So I've been in those tough places. I've been in those trenches like each and every one of you each and every day. I'm open to learning about new sectors of our membership that I've not worked in and being supportive to make sure that we represent those to the best. I've learned and spent the time with collective bargaining agreements to understand the provisions of those agreements. I've learned and understood the products that are built by our membership. I want to be supportive and I want to understand when I'm talking to a member what's actually taking place in their work site. I want to make sure that each and every time, as I always have, whether you see me at Black Lake, whether you see me in a convention hall, whether you see me at a conference, or for those of you in Michigan that actually get a chance to see me at the Myers grocery store where our fellow union members from the UFCW are employed, if you get a chance to see me there, as many of you have, I am approachable even when I'm putting milk and bread in my cart. I'm going to still have a conversation with you, and I'm willing to take on the tough questions. That's something I've always done. I've done that in my local union. I did that when I was a staff member in Region 8. I did that as the director. I did that as your secretary treasurer, and I'm committed to continuing to do that each and every day as your international president, currently elected and seeking your support in this runoff process. Again, I'm asking you for your support, and I'm asking you for your support to re-elect me in this process during this runoff. The ballots are in your hands. They're due back in on February 28th, but we're asking you to return those ballots as early as February 17th to make sure that there's a timely arrival of the ballot in Dayton, Ohio. If you do not receive your ballot, please go to uawvote.com and request a ballot. This will be the last week that you can actually request a ballot, and it's actually important that you request that ballot if you've not received it. If that ballot's sitting on your counter at home, please do the right thing. Check the Curry Solidarity Team, Ray Curry, Chuck Browning, Lauren Farrell, place it in the secret folder, seal the envelope, and place it in the U.S. mail where our fellow union members from the American Postal Workers Union carry that mail, and we'll deliver it to Ohio for you and make sure that your vote is counted. Please understand, every vote matters in this process. Every vote counts. I am thankful for your support, and again, I'm asking for that one more time, that you'll support me and support the Curry Solidarity Team. Whether you're in the continental United States, whether you're in our membership that's in a province in Canada, or whether you're on the island of Puerto Rico, we need your ballots returned. We need those ballots cast for the Curry Solidarity Team, and I am asking for your vote to be able to continue representing our retired members and our active members each and every day. Solidarity, I remain with you. Solidarity, I commit to you. And solidarity, we will accomplish and be successful. One more time, thank you, and thank you all for joining, and have a great evening, and I look forward to seeing you real soon. Maybe it will be in your region, maybe it will be tomorrow morning at your plant gates, or maybe it'll be this weekend at another grocery store stop, but I look forward to talking to the membership. Thank you.